Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Sam Bryant. I have the pleasure of serving as the Senate President for the 33rd Senate, as well as I represent the School of Public and International Affairs as their Senator. Today, I'm so excited to have our guest with us from the Office of the Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs and Vice Provost, Dr. Marissa Ann Pagnataro, who serves as the Vice Provost for Academic Affairs. Dr. Pagnataro, will you please introduce yourself as well as an overview of the SVP's office and what it oversees?
Sure. Hi, Sam. As Vice President of Academic Affairs, I work closely with the Provost, and the Provost is responsible for units across campus related to administration, policy, and planning. It includes all the university schools and colleges and a number of vice presidents. I also work closely with the Office of Global Engagement, and my home college is the Terry College of Business, where I'm a Megas Professor of Legal Studies. I've been very involved in the campus planning this fall, and I look forward to our discussion today. I know students have a lot of questions.
Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you being here. And now we're going to jump into our questions submitted by students and parents. So to start us off, how will classes operate this fall with respect to HyFlex and hybrid learning options?
I'm glad you asked, because I know there are a lot of questions about this. One of the big changes for fall is that the classrooms will be socially distanced, which means that there'll be 6 feet between students. Chairs have been marked to indicate where students can sit to accommodate that 6 feet. But what this means is for many classes, everyone can't be in the same room at the same time. So hybrid learning and HyFlex are terms to describe what instruction might look like. So most classes will have a face-to-face component with that social distancing I described, but because everyone can't be there at the same time, some students may attend online, which could be through live feed or it could be asynchronously. So you could have a class which a faculty member does a lecture online, but then you have breakout sessions in person. So in other words, HyFlex and hybrid classes are meant to reduce the density, but to have everyone have sort of equal instruction. There'll be a lot of creative options available to faculty. It really depends on their discipline. They can go through and decide what makes sense for their learning objectives. So if you think about a chemistry class or forestry, it could be really different than English or art. And so every class will be unique this fall in a way that we haven't seen before. At an institutional level, we've supported faculty. They've gone to workshops. There's been a 2-week course to help faculty create a plan for the fall. And hundreds of faculty have actually gone to those workshops. We've got cameras in the classrooms, microphones. So hopefully it will go smoothly. Everyone's been working really hard to get it together to be very flexible for fall.
Yeah, and thank you. And we really appreciate what your office has been doing to help students and prepare for that. And you mentioned a little bit about having flexible classes and everything like that. And one of the big concerns students have is classroom attendance. So will students be required to attend all classes in person? And if a student is uncomfortable about attending class, what are their options?
Students should definitely, like they would any semester, see first of all what the mode of instruction will be. To remember that there will be social distancing, which I hope will sort of alleviate some of the concerns about being face-to-face. But the other thing is you'd always just check the syllabus. It will go class by class like it does any other semester. You know, what is the attendance policy for the class? You want to make sure you know what those are, what the expectations are for the professor. I think people will be pretty flexible. We'll all, share concerns, but the syllabus is really important. There may be some students, however, who have different classroom needs. And if that's the case, they should talk with the Disability Resource Center. The DRC can work with students individually to figure out what is an appropriate plan for accommodations.
Okay. And going off educational resources, what educational resources would you direct students towards to help them as they move into this fall semester?
One new one that I hope students will take advantage of, in your ELC account, there should be a new non-credit course called from the Division of Academic Enhancement. And it should help students understand the differences with the new course formats with hybrid and HyFlex and give strategies for success. So it's definitely something you want to look at. It should be in your ELC course list. And then just in general, just always remember student care and outreach is there. They're working really hard. I mean, they can answer questions about academic support, financial issues, general concerns related to the semester. I mean, they're very, very dedicated and they're there to help. So remember that they're there for you.
Okay, great. And so another thing we want to look at is like communication. What's the best way for students to look for updates regarding policies related to their schools and colleges?
It's a question I'm very glad you asked because we always worry about getting information to the students. So number one, UGA website. We have a new coronavirus.uga.edu website. It's been there since March, but we've been updating it. So campus level announcements are there, FAQs, other information related to the pandemic. So really important spot to go. And the second one, check your UGA email. So we know that students sometimes that's not the first place you're going to go, but it really is important. That's the primary place where announcements will be sent. They'll be posted on the web as well, but that's the place. Follow that email. A number of the schools and colleges are also posting information through the email, so you want those updates. And we look, SGA is welcome to amplify those messages through social media. We always appreciate that. But the two key primary sources are going to be at the website and the email.
Okay, great. And then another thing we wanted to look at was like class times, especially with the 20-minute additional interval. But will class times change as a result of spacing and social distancing restrictions?
We definitely had to adjust the class times. And there's a new daily class schedule that you can take a look at. There'll be 5 extra minutes added to the break time between classes to allow students to get between classes. The campus transit buses also will be operating, but they'll have social distancing, which will limit the passenger capacity on those. So definitely check the bus schedule and the class schedule. To the extent students can walk, I encourage you to do that. I mean, the fall is beautiful on campus and you have hopefully a few minutes to enjoy it as you cross between classes.
Mhm. Yeah, and so there's lots of ambiguities with some things moving in because we don't always know what will happen. But what can students do if they're faced with a situation during the year that hinders their ability to attend class, like such as being affected by COVID-19?
I know this is a particular worry this semester. I mean, communication is always important in any semester, particularly this term. I would say in any situation, let your professor know, follow the guide in the syllabus to how they want you to inform them about your absence. But something new that's really important this semester is a new tool. It's a notification tool called Dog Check, and it'll be rolled out before classes start, probably next week. And it'll prompt all faculty, staff, and students to go through daily during every weekday to do what's called a symptom check. So you definitely can walk through these screens. And if you have any symptoms, you check them off. It's critical that students not come to class if they have COVID symptoms. It's one of the key things we need to do to stop any kind of spread. If students do have symptoms, they should go to the health center. And if they get tested and it's positive, that needs to be reported in dog check as well. And again, I just really, if you could help us spread the word on that, it's so important because that when you fill out the dog check, it will trigger and alert student care and outreach, that team. And they can help students with things like medical assistance, isolation if they need to, meal delivery, notification to professors. It can show where you've been on campus. So it's just a really, really effective tool that we need help getting the word out about.
Yeah, and I think like what you touch on there is like our accountability, like to one another, and like our community as Bulldog Nation, everything like that.
Absolutely.
And I know that's something SGA is very passionate about, and that we're trying to like work with like your offices and other offices to try to make sure students are aware of that. Um, but so a couple like months ago, the university released like that return to campus document that talked about some contingency plans. Like, can you discuss any contingency plans if instruction has to move online during the semester?
I mean, if we need to move online, it'll be similar to what happened last spring, except we'll be very prepared for it. Last spring was very abrupt and we were, but now we know it's possible. The decision actually would be made at a system level and comprehensive instruction would be sent out to everyone in the community. And this is where the flexibility in instruction is so important. We've told the faculty, be prepared to pivot if needed. And that should be the case. So we'll stand by and see. Hopefully it will not come to that, but if it does, we should be prepared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what advice would you give to incoming students during this time?
First and foremost, take care of your health. I mean, this fall, in addition to getting enough sleep, eating healthy, it's going to be really important to practice social distancing. staying 6 feet apart, wash your hands regularly, wear a face covering. I know we've talked a lot about that, but it will really, really be important. It's challenging for all of us, but we have to really come together to take care of each other as well. And on that point, I really encourage you to look out for others. There's so much uncertainty associated with the pandemic. It can be very difficult on people. So if you look out for each other, don't hesitate to let academic enhancement know, student care and outreach, your professors. If you or a student needs assistance, we really want to know. We want students to succeed. I'd also like to add, it's going to be a time that requires kindness and patience. I mean, we're all trying to do the best we can. And it's an extraordinary time.
Yeah, and I know I'm really thankful for the university and all the things that they're doing to support students. And it's just, we really want to make students aware of like the resources that are available to them, and make sure they're able to like utilize them to help during this unprecedented time. But kind of switching to like a little bit more like a positive look, positive light. What are you most looking forward to this fall?
Having the students back on campus, there's no question about it. And teaching my class, I'll be teaching in class. We've missed you. It's been very quiet, and everyone's been working across campus to get things ready, with great diligence. And just behind the scenes, what's happened has been incredible because we want people to have a safe return, get back to our core mission, teaching, research, and service. It'll be very different without question from what we ever experienced in the past. But I think you can really, pull together as a community on that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also just love that answer. Just like so many of the people, administrators we've been speaking with, like the returning students coming to campus just tends to be a common theme, and really just shows like the passion that the university has. And then now finally, is there anything else that you would like to share from the Office of the Provost or from the university overall?
I would just say, thank you so much to SGA. I mean, we're thrilled to have you partnering with us essentially to get the word out, keeping students informed. I hope everyone has a healthy and successful semester. Don't forget to check your email, and show that bulldog can-do spirit by wearing your face covering. And hopefully, we'll have a great semester ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I hope so too. Dr. Pagnataro, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We are so thankful for your work and dedication to serving students. We invite all parents and students to visit provost.uga.edu to learn more.
Good afternoon. My name is Bradley Howard, and I serve as a senator for the Franklin College of Arts and Sciences in the Student Government Association Senate. I am the chair of the Educational Affairs Committee. Our Committee on Educational Affairs considers educational policies that will affect the university, including but not limited to registration, course scheduling, class times and periods, and academic advising. Works closely with the university councils, educational affairs, and curriculum committees to write and hear proposals passed through SGA and their implementation university-wide. Based on student demands, the Senate has compiled a summer town hall series where we are bringing administrators together to answer the questions students and parents are asking. Our guest for today is from the Division of Academic Enhancement, Dr. Chase Haygood. Dr. Haygood, will you please introduce yourself as well as what DAE does and how it serves the university?
Well, thanks so much, Bradley, and thanks to Student Government Association. Really just tremendous work of late, as always, but of late in some very, uncertain and challenging times. So thanks to SGA for this town hall series and inviting me to be a part of it. So my name is Chase Haygood. Students typically call me Chase. Some refuse and want to call me Dr. Haygood, and that's fine. I'm privileged to serve as the director of the Division of Academic Enhancement. And you're quite right. What is that? It's a mouthful. We're a unit inside, or a department inside the Office of Instruction. We're one of the largest student success units on campus. We exist to ensure that students can be successful, right, from the transition into the university and then as they proceed through the university's unique academic environment. We do it in a lot of different ways, which I'm happy to talk about here. But some of our best known services include peer tutoring for really high demand, high challenge, high rigor courses. Students can access a peer tutor for free and be able to work with that peer tutor one-on-one or in a study pod. There's a lot of different ways peer tutoring assists students here at UGA. Academic coaching is another recent program that we offer to students to help them figure out. Our kind of thinking is everybody needs a coach one way or another when you hit a challenging moment in life. And so our academic coaches are faculty and staff who work one-on-one with students to help them figure out the best pathway forward in terms of their academic success. So I'm the director of this division. I'm a first-generation college graduate, a first-generation PhD, and it's something we might have a chance to talk about first gen in a moment, but it's something that both professionally and personally that I'm committed to, and that's the success of every student here at the University of Georgia.
Well, thank you so much. So now we're going to jump into our questions submitted by the students and the parents. So our first question is, how has the pandemic affected services and resources within your department? And how different will they look this fall?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, it truly is. So how has it affected? Almost in every way. But I can say that I'm very proud of our faculty and staff inside this division who really rose to the occasion. Students, as they come into the University of Georgia, will notice, as well as those who are returning, that they have been automatically enrolled in a non-credit bearing, so nobody get nervous, ELC experience. And that inside ELC is meant to help them be successful, right? Understanding time management, understanding how do I set up a productive kind of home office workspace? How do I communicate with faculty in a really kind of different environment that maybe I start the semester in a face-to-face? How do I continue that dialogue and that relationship with a faculty member if and when we pivot into online? And that the plan right now is classes will move that direction after Thanksgiving. And so what does that look like, right? And how do we do that work? And how can students be successful in that? A number of our resources are designed exactly with that in mind. They were before the pandemic, and then it was our work. And again, the ELC experience is a good example that in 48 hours, our faculty and a couple of staff members were able to translate a 15-week course into 8 online self-paced modules. Get them up, get them ready for every student, undergraduate, graduate, and professional student at the university. And so, Bradley, it's something I'm really proud of. I think that our division rose to the challenge and met exactly. We have a saying that we want to meet students where they are, right? And so the pandemic presented some new challenges that we had never faced before, but I think we had a really good infrastructure that was able to adapt quickly. And how those look different for the fall, I think that was the second part of the question. They'll continue to evolve, right? We like to think of ourselves as a unit that can be flexible, that can be nimble, that can move with where the demand takes us. And so tutoring, one of our anchor services, will for the most part be virtually face-to-face in the fall. But we keep an eye open depending on where cases and what those look like as the fall plays out to see how close can we get back to a non-virtual face-to-face that looked a little bit more like pre-COVID.
Thank you so much for that. And I will say on the ELC, I believe that they had a very similar course for the summer that I use. So I highly recommend anyone watching this to use that for time management. Helps out a lot.
Fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm always eager to hear what students make of services and content that we put together. So I'm glad to hear it was helpful.
Yes, very much so. So for our second question is, will you still be offering services in satellite locations like Russell Hall?
So in some ways that's yet to be determined. I want to get us back there. Everybody wants to be back there. Students want to be back in, the Russell Academic Center, and that's one of our satellite locations. For now, we're going to begin the semester virtually face-to-face. So that will include most of if not all the tutoring operations that were in Russell Hall in the hours from 6 p.m. up until I think 9 p.m., maybe 10 p.m. on certain days of the week. Most of those are going to run virtual as we begin the semester. And I'm happy to say that we'll be unveiling a kind of piece of scheduling technology coming in the fall that will help with a more immediate match, so that you would be able to find the tutor in real time, schedule a time, as opposed to, and we're doing that for a variety of reasons. And one of them is that students like the convenience. We understand that you like the convenience of being able to drop in. So being able to do even more of that, provide another avenue, not just in a Zoom room, we'll have those still running, but another way of finding directly a peer tutor to help you out when the help is needed.
And so talking about tutoring, which you brought up, can you go through the process of signing up for a tutoring session and what happens if one of my classes doesn't have a tutoring offered by the DAE?
It's a really, really great question. So I want to make sure that everybody knows where we are online, because that's critical right now. And it's DAE, so we're the Division of Academic Enhancement, dae.uga.edu. So you would go there, first of all, if you're looking for any information about the division, but specifically here for a tutoring session, go to dae.uga.edu. You'll click the Services tab on the top menu bar, and then you'll go to the very bottom of that list, and it's not a long list. You'll go to the bottom of the list, tutoring, and then you'll follow the instructions there to find a tutor, right? There's another way. We like to have more than one option for students to be able to locate a tutor. There's also about midway, if you scroll down the page, midway down the page, just below the fold, where you'll see Find a Tutor. And you click that button, it'll take you straight to Sage. So that's where currently the scheduling piece is happening. Now that's going to change as we get a new piece of technology in place and stood up, and we will have instructions for that on our website as well. What do we do? And there are occasionally students who will let me know that this is the case, that they're not able to find a tutor for a class that they can't find a tutor on our website or inside Sage. This is what I've always said to students since I've had this job in fall of 2016. If you can't find a tutor for a class that you and several of your friends are trying to get assistance for, I need to know that. Let me know. My email address is on the website as well. There's also the general DAE email address as well. Send us an email and let us know that. Additionally, there's a portal that we designed as part of the DAE at a Distance page that was our pivot during COVID. There's an Assisting with My Academic Success portal there as well. So again, multiple ways to get in touch with us. We monitor those emails and those Qualtrics surveys closely. So let us know if you have a need for a tutor and you don't see the tutor listed. Let us know. And it's my commitment to make sure that we're able to get you the help that you need.
Awesome. That's very helpful. So earlier you had said something about first generation students and wanting to talk about first generation students. So that's what this next question is what are some of the services and resources offered to those first generation college students by the DAE?
So I said earlier, I'm a first gen college graduate and a first generation PhD. It's something I'm very proud of. It's something that, so much of the work that we do is undoubtedly framed, by the experiences that we have all had. And again, I see it as a privilege to serve as the director of this division. There are a number of scholars programs inside the division that offer a kind of, as we describe it, a holistic and kind of wraparound support network for a student, right? So she might come into the university as a Coca-Cola first generation scholar, right? And she would receive in that a number of different support pieces, including 2 different UNIV courses that are designed to intro and exit out of the university through success. And there are a number of pieces inside those scholars programs, community building, workshops, et cetera, and a lot of resources that come with it, including financial aid scholarship. So there are those pieces, but I will say for anybody who isn't one of those first gen scholars in one of those scholars programs, Corel, Cousins, et cetera, that the Student Success Workshop series is available for everyone. Academic coaching is available to every student. UNIV courses, there's one in particular that's offered typically in the spring. It's a UNIV 2900 section. That's part of our division curriculum as well, the UNIV courses, specifically for first generation students. Many students who are first gen, who have been on campus for a moment, perhaps if they're watching this video, will know about First at the First as an initiative inside the Office of Instruction, specifically designed for transition into and then leadership training for first generation students. That program is now housed inside the Division of Academic Enhancement. That First Gen Dogs as a first gen student organization will be launching relatively soon here at the beginning of fall. Again, I'm delighted to serve as the faculty advisor to that group, so that that group can know about the different services inside the division they can take advantage of, make use of. We offer a first generation celebration in the fall as well, where we like to think nationally there's one day, but at the University of Georgia, we celebrate first generation students. We celebrate them every day, but we also celebrate them for a full week in the fall, and that information's on our website as well. Two more things really quick, Bradley. First generation peer allies will be coming, a peer-to-peer support network program will be coming in the fall as well. Take a look at our website for that. More will be coming soon there, as well as a new website location that addresses all of first generation services, not just inside the division, but pulling on a lot of threads from across the university to make sure that first generation students are aware that these things exist for them. And that website will be launched. We're proud to host it inside the division, and it will be launched by the start of the fall semester. So stay tuned for that.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of really good stuff that is in the works and that should be coming out soon. So for all the students who want to stay informed on all this stuff and all the great stuff that y'all have coming out, what would you say is the best way really to stay informed and updated about what's going on within the DAE department?
So dae.uga.edu is a great place to just take a quick look and survey. And we think, our website saw a redesign about 1.5 years ago. We hope that it's doing its work really well in terms of being able to, click through, find the information that you need, or pose a question. And I want you to do that. If you have a question, if you have a need and you can't find the information in terms of academic success, let us know. And you have a commitment from me. I will leverage whatever resources I can find that I can lay hands on to make sure, because I think that we have a commitment. The university has a commitment to you as a student. You're here. We want you to be successful. One way that we do that is through the kind of infrastructure that we've built to make sure that you can be successful. In terms of news information, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. I'm a big Twitter fan. And so take a look there. We're very active on social media. For any of the information that I mentioned here about forthcoming First Gen website, as well as what the student success workshops will look like for the fall, how you can access those, UNIV curriculum. If you're an entering first year student, I have to get a plug in to say, please take a UNIV 1201. It's a great way to get connected. You went through orientation with the orientation leader. They will be a PLA leader in those 1201 sections. So find a 1201 section in Athena today, register for that course, and join us in that UNIV 1201 to help you get really a good start here at the University of Georgia.
Awesome. And so as I said, follow them on Twitter, follow them on Instagram. I'm very new to Twitter, so I'm going to have to follow the DAE now.
Fantastic. Last pieces of advice. One, take COVID-19 seriously. I imagine that most of you do. It's a challenge for everybody on planet Earth right now. And the community that you're now a part of here at the University of Georgia, most of our work for fall, I think, is going to be learning, as it always has been, but it's also going to be taking care of each other. And so in doing that, I think we have to take the guidelines and the precautions and the best practices that we have to take the virus seriously and to protect each other as members of this community. And lastly, know that we're here to support you. I hope I've said that throughout. I hope that you get that impression. We're here to support you. That's what we're excited to do. That's the job that we have. So know that and make use of us, right? I mean, make use of peer tutoring, make use of academic coaching, make use of any number of the resources across this campus.
Well, that is I believe that's some great advice. Well, Dr. Haygood, I'd like to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Yeah.
We invite all parents and students to visit the dae.uga.edu website to learn more about the Division of Academic Enhancement. Our guest for today is from the Disability Resource Center, Tricia Bearfield. Ms. Bearfield, will you please introduce yourself as well as what the DRC does and how it serves the university?
Sure. So my name is Trish Bearfield. I serve as the Associate Director for the Disability Resource Center, as well as University Testing Services here at UGA. Um, what the Disability Resource Center, or the DRC, does, our mission is to ensure equal educational opportunities for students at UGA as required by the Americans with Disabilities Act, as well as other legislation. We also strive to promote a welcoming academic, physical, and social environment for students with disabilities here at UGA. In practice, what that means is that the DRC's professional staff work directly with students to assess their individual disability-related needs and to develop appropriate plans for academic accommodations and services. In a normal year, more than 1 out of every 20 UGA students is registered with us for some documented disability, whether that's ADHD, anxiety, a hearing or visual impairment, or a wide variety of other conditions that could impact students in the classroom.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So now we're just going to jump into our questions that have been submitted by students and parents. And so the first one is how has the pandemic affected services and resources within your department, and how different will they look in the fall?
So our procedures that I just outlined have not changed for students with disabilities, but the classroom environment has. We take the same individualized approach to determining barriers for equal access and work with students and instructors to find appropriate solutions. So for instance, students who require accessible textbooks won't see anything change with their services. We'll still work with the student and the instructor to produce the appropriate version of text for that student, whether that's large print or a screen reader accessible version, whatever they need. Alternatively, we have the majority of our students have some sort of testing accommodations. The most common of those would be additional time or a low distraction environment, reduced distraction. With the majority of those exams moving online, we're anticipating very few of those exams to actually happen in our office because the instructor can add additional time in ELC or whatever platform they're using. And for most students, just not being in that classroom testing environment will meet their needs for a reduced distraction environment. So, you know, the last year we had without any interruptions, 2018-2019 academic year, we proctored 16,000 exams. My guess is we would do maybe a few hundred just because of how many exams are likely to be online.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I know that the moving to online has its good and bads with a lot of this stuff. So can you tell us more information on academic assistance that the department provides to students?
Sure. So assistance, again, is based on the needs of the individual. So if a student has a disability that's impacting them in the classroom, I strongly suggest that they reach out to us. Our professional staff can answer any questions they have and make that individualized assessment about what accommodations are appropriate for that student at UGA. I'm sure that a lot of students have questions about COVID-specific accommodations. Although that's outside of our primary mission, we have taken on the coordination of accommodations for those with risk factors that are on the CDC's list. So for students who have COVID risk factors, they can use our regular application process to request something like remote attendance. So as with all accommodations through our office, that's just the start of a conversation. After they meet with us, there's a conversation with faculty to determine if that accommodation or that academic arrangement would fundamentally alter the nature of the course, but our staff will lead that discussion.
Okay. And that application is found on the DRC website?
Correct, yes.
Awesome. So I know that the DRC covers a lot of different disabilities, and there's a lot of different students that are registered with the DRC. So how can a student register themselves with the Disability Resource Center? And can you give more details like on that process as a whole?
Definitely. So the registration process starts with that application on our website. And we also have this broken down step by step there as well. So the application asks questions about prior history of accommodation and the specifics of the current request. And then we're also going to request that we receive documentation from a qualified care provider. So that might be your doctor, that might be an educational psychologist. We have a form on our website that students can send to their doctor that they can just answer the questions that we need in order to determine what the student requires. And so once we receive those two pieces, the student is assigned to a coordinator who will set up a meeting with them. And in that meeting, the two will, in the current situation, they'll talk over Zoom or the phone, and they'll talk over the requests, determine appropriate accommodations, and then discuss the next steps for actually implementing accommodations.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you. So what should a student do? As you spoke a little bit about this before, what should a student do with health and safety concerns about returning to campus this fall and being required to attend in-person classes?
So for students who are not designated at a heightened risk for the CDC, so that wouldn't go through our office, I recommend reaching out to your professors directly to inquire about the class structure and discuss possible accommodations. Most students I'm aware of have been able to work with their instructors and found a satisfactory solution. If that approach doesn't work and the student still remains uncomfortable with the course's format, then they should consider contacting Student Care and Outreach and the Dean of Students office for further assistance. There are also several solutions such as online courses or other 4-credit options that students could discuss with their academic advisor.
Awesome. So there's a lot of stuff that is going on with the DRC, and the DRC is very integral to a lot of people on campus, especially in a time like this. So where would you say is the best place for students to stay updated and to learn more about the services that you offer?
So our website has a lot of information laid out, and that is drc.uga.edu. And then any individual questions that you have, if they aren't answered by the website, you can email us directly at drc@uga.edu. We have a coordinator who's on call 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. So if you reach out to us by phone or email, we'll get back to you and answer any questions you have.
Okay. Thank you. And so getting a little bit more personable is, what advice would you give to incoming students during, this time?
I think especially with this fall, I think that the trick is going to be finding balance between being patient and being proactive. So, we're all working together to get this to work. So communication is absolutely key. But I mean, the primary thing is, please don't hesitate to reach out to faculty and staff with questions. Again, we're building this thing together, and we're here to help.
Yes, I think that is great advice. Reaching out, as someone had said before, is we're a place of higher education and we're meant to ask questions. So I think that's some really good advice. So one last question is, what are you most looking forward to for this fall?
I mean, fall is always my favorite. I love the energy that's on campus and the cooler weather, and getting to meet all the new members of the campus community. I mean, obviously this one's going to be a little bit different, but I think there's still a lot of stuff to be excited about. And
hot chocolate and pumpkin spice.
Yes, pumpkin spice, just not in my coffee.
I agree. So one last question. Is there anything else that you want students to know about the DRC?
The primary thing to take away from this conversation is, if you have any questions, if you think you might maybe be someone who qualifies for accommodations, contact us. We're here to help, and have that conversation with us, and we can figure out what's best for you in UGA's academic environment.
Well, Ms. Bearfield, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We invite all parents and students to visit the DRC at UGA, to visit the DRC website at drc.uga.edu to learn more about the Disability Resource Center. Our next guest for the day is from the University Libraries, Dr. Toby Graham. Dr. Graham serves as the University Librarian and Associate Provost. Dr. Graham, will you please tell us about what the libraries oversee and how students can interact with the libraries?
Sure. So I would kind of put it in three categories: the information resources, our services, and our learning spaces. So, first of all, if students go to the library's website, libs.uga.edu, really you can find a wealth of information there that will help students in their classes and in their research. There's tens of thousands of electronic journals you can access. There's about 500 different databases, about 500,000 electronic books. And then, in terms of physical materials, about 4.7 million volumes of print books. And in addition to that, really, we have nationally significant special collections that are housed at our Special Collections Library. And they're increasingly used for archive-centered courses in a real wide range of subjects. And I hope that students, at some point during their career at UGA will try to pick one of those classes that uses those archival materials as essentially the principal text for their class. And then there's the research support. So we have librarians and archivists who are here to help students, help you to learn the skills that you need, the research and information skills you need to be successful at UGA and in your work life afterward in a knowledge-based economy, who are here to help you with your assignments. And then learning spaces. So we manage the Miller Learning Center, the main library, the science library, the Carnegie Library out on the Health Sciences campus, the Special Collections building, as well as having branch libraries at art, music, and education. And those, for students, they're very popular spaces for study in a normal year. And granted, this is not a normal year. We would welcome about, 3.5 million visits from students a year for study and other things. And that includes technology access. So, the most used computer labs are at library operated spaces, including at the Miller Learning Center, in partnership with Campus Computing at the main library and the science library. And then also very specialized labs in areas like, as a media lab at the Miller Learning Center with a recording studio in it. There's a maker space at the science library where, students can get certified to use 3D printers and laser cutters, and, where you have virtual reality sets and Arduinos and Raspberry Pis and all kinds of interesting creative technologies. A digital humanities lab at the main library, and a GIS lab there as well. So again, spaces, learning spaces, information resources, and research services.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So now we're going to jump into our questions that have been submitted by students and parents.
Okay.
The first question of that is, how has the pandemic affected services and resources within your department?
So we have been closed to the public, although very much at work supporting online education, during the online instructional period. We are on August 10th, we're reopening our facilities with a real focus on health and safety in those facilities, emphasizing electronic content and services, including, e-chat services with librarians and archivists. And you can also schedule Zoom. Students can schedule individual Zoom conferences with librarians, and we'll also be teaching within your classes via Zoom. Within our facilities, social distancing will be in place. We've reconfigured the furniture layouts, placed some limits on group study, room capacity. Of course, mask wearing is required. There's enhanced cleaning and disinfecting of study furniture and other high-touch surfaces, hand sanitizer and disinfecting wipes readily available, plexiglass screens at the service points. But with all of that, we're very much, open as of the 10th and available for students to come and use.
That's exciting. So August 10th is y'all's opening. That means that services will resume in some capacity for fall. So is the hours of operation going to stay the same or will they change? And will you still be able to like actually check out physical books?
Yeah, so hours will change. The Middle Learning Center, which is normally 24/7 in terms of operation, for at least for August and September, will close at midnight. And the reason for that is that we have a higher standard for cleaning and disinfecting of all of those spaces to make sure that they are safe for students. And so we need to be able to have some time to do that work. And the main library and the science library, which normally close at 2 a.m., also will close at midnight. And again, that's so that we can meet the university's standards for cleaning and disinfecting this fall. In terms of circulating books, yes, on August 10th, our collection becomes available for circulation. You can check out materials at the main library, the science library, and other locations. But even until then, students are able to request materials via the catalog and pick them up at the front door at the main library. We'll quarantine books that are returned for 3 to 4 days just to make absolutely sure that they carry no active virus before we recirculate them to the public.
Awesome. Yes, I know that I am looking forward to picking up some books once everything gets empty. So you mentioned the MLC and you said that's going to be closed at midnight. So that's correct, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So then also you've talked about a little bit in before is that there's social distancing and guidelines that are going to be followed within the libraries. So can you go a little bit further into that?
Absolutely. So, as previously described, masks, social distancing, cleaning and disinfecting, availability of PPE and supplies in our facilities, protective plexiglass, and an emphasis on electronic services. But I want to, emphasize to students, please wear the mask. It is required inside the Middle Learning Center. It's required at all of our library locations this fall. And really the only exception there is if you're alone inside an enclosed study room. So in that context, we do have 96 group study rooms at the Middle Learning Center. Very fortunate to have that number. 29 new group study rooms were added this past year at the main library on the first floor. And a little, pro tip about the science library, if you're not aware of it, on the third and fourth floors, back behind the bookshelves and the stacks up there, there are about 70 small metal individual enclosed study carrels there. Those I think will be popular and helpful, in terms of social distancing in spaces. But we'll also, with the tables and chairs, we're reducing the amount of seating at a given table and trying to maximize the amount of socially distanced study furniture that we have available for students. We have made disinfecting wipes available, to all the students and readily available to them. So you can grab a wipe and wipe down your study space before you use it. There's hand sanitizer that's around the building. So, before and after you use a computer, for example, to either wash your hands or use that hand sanitizer that we provided for you. And then urging folks to pay attention to the signage that we're providing in our spaces that are sort of directional in terms of traffic and traffic flow and how to line up for services, the number of people that are allowed within a study room and that sort of thing.
Those are good pro tips about the science library. I know those are all going to be filled up now that it's now out in the wide open. So changing gears a little bit, can you tell us a little more about the COVID-19 collection and how students can contribute by submitting their own experiences?
Yeah. So we don't often sort of recognize that what we're doing right now will be considered a historic moment later. And, but I think that's certainly true in the context of the COVID pandemic. And so as the pandemic, as this pandemic unfolds, our Special Collections Library has a project to collect from students and others some of the record of what has sort of happened to them and how the pandemic has impacted their family, their business, their education, their well-being. And so we're accepting digital submissions of things like personal reflections, photographs, poetry, recordings, or any other means that really demonstrate how the pandemic has affected someone's life. So the person who submits that, they retain the copyright to their work, but they allow us to be able to use that content in order to, support research, education, put on exhibits, things of that nature in the future. So for folks who would like to contribute something or are willing to contribute to something as a part of that COVID collection, they should go to our website, libs.uga.edu, and then /COVID-collection, COVID-collection. And then you can use that site to upload your content.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a really cool resource. That's going to be really interesting to look back on after everything's done with all this. So you've talked about your website, and I mean it's an amazing facility. It's an amazing resource. What would you say is the best way for students to stay informed and updated on your department through the website, through social media, things like that?
Yeah, so pretty simple from that regard. Visit the website at libs.uga.edu, and we put updates and news on that website regularly. And then on social media, Twitter and Instagram at UGA LIBS.
Okay, awesome. I'm new to Twitter, so I'm gonna have to follow y'all now.
All right.
All right, so switching gears a little bit, getting into a little bit more personal, what advice would you give to the upcoming students during this, historic time?
Yeah. So, if we're talking about, first of all, first-year student who, they've already had an end to their high school career that wasn't what they, wanted or expected. And for the folks returning, same to the end of last semester. And it's a challenging time to come back in to the college environment. But I think, our students, ultimately, they're going to have a great experience at UGA. But the key thing is we've got to be able to successfully get through this semester. And I think that's going to take all of us buying in to what we need to do to keep ourselves and to keep others safe and healthy. And by now we know what those things are, and we just need to be sort of disciplined and bought in about it. And then just secondly, that we just need to please, summon every ounce of patience and kindness and respect for one another that we can, because truly we're all in this together, and it will benefit us all if we can do that and have a successful, fall semester.
I agree. So, talking about fall, what are you most looking forward to in regards to fall?
Well, one of the really gratifying things about being the university librarian is I love to, walk through our facilities and see them full of students, day and night, and to know, the part that we play in the educational experience that they have here. And I miss that. And so I do look forward to seeing our students in the fall. But again, I look forward to seeing them behind a mask. Okay, and so looking forward to seeing everyone when they return.
Awesome. I agree. So one final question. Is there anything else that you would like to share about what the libraries are working on for providing for students?
Well, again, I think I would remind folks that there's so much that they have access to if they go to the library website, that much of what you need for your classes, you'll be able to get to electronically, and you'll be able to access a librarian to answer your questions via chat. Take advantage of all of that. That is there for you. And if you have concerns about being at one of our facilities and want to minimize your exposure, to campus facilities and operations that, I think we have improved and demonstrated how the libraries can support online and high flex types of operation. And we will continue to work with you to help you be successful in that way, both in your in-person and in your remote learning. So please take advantage of us, reach out to a librarian. They are truly there to help you be successful here at this institution.
Well, Dr. Graham, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. And then to all, we invite all parents and students to visit the library website at libs.uga.edu to learn more about the university libraries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, I would like to thank all of our guests who attended and spoke about how the university will be adapting this fall. If you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to visit the sites on the screen, DM us on social media, or email your senator. Have a wonderful day, have a wonderful week, and go Dogs.